check out this hand that I played with 7-3 of clubs. There's an early position raised to 15, 2 calls, and we're in the big blind with 7-3 of clubs, and we decide to defend for 10 more. So we're going multi-ways, 4 ways to a flop that comes ace, queen, jack with 2 clubs. We got pretty close. The pre-flop aggressor, who appears to be an elderly, wise gentleman drinking some black energizing beverage that I could never name, continues for $20. It folds to us, and for this price, here's my analysis, okay? In this situation, this particular opponent will a lot of the time have exactly ace-king. So, if he has ace-king, or some ace-x type hand, he cannot have a 2-club type hand because the ace of clubs is on a board. So, if we do improve, we will always have the better flush if there's only 3 clubs on the board. So, we do stand to win a big pot if we improve. So we make the call for 20. The turn is probably one of the worst cards in the deck. It's another ace, so we pretty much lose to everything in our opponent's marina, as he's gonna have a lot of boats. So we check, and surprisingly he checks back. Off to a river, which is just a total brick, doesn't change the board at all. And we decide that we can't win with 7 high, and because the turn is an ace and he checked, it's less likely that he does have an ace. And, you know, there's some small percentage of the time where he just doesn't have anything. So we bet 60 as a bluff, which is just not big enough at all. And our opponent eventually finds the call with the queen. So I don't really hate the line post-flop, don't like the sizing on the end. The defend pre-flop is arguably a little loose. But yeah, from this first hand, you can see it's going to be an absolutely wild session. No need to keep you waiting, let's get right into the action. So some poker vloggers like to vlog on the rooftop parking garages. I, on the other hand, a man of true class, prefer to vlog on the roof, just the roof of my house. So that's what we're gonna do today. Got a crazy session for you, real roller coaster of a ride. Let's get right into it. And hope I don't fall, you know, that whole bit. Alrighty, after a couple more good punts, we look down at king, queen, offsuit, in middle position, and make it 25. We get the small blind and the cutoff to call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop that comes 3, 7, 10. Normally, I would say this is a pretty good c-bet spot, but after the small blind checks, the cutoff doesn't really have a lot left in front, so I would really hate to see a jam from that opponent, considering we've only got 2 overs and some backdoor draws, so I decided to check this one, and then the cutoff checks back. So we're going with the same gang into the turn, which comes an offsuit 9. So now we've actually improved to a gutter with our 2 overs, so after the small blind checks for a second time, I think it's time to turn up the heat. We bet 50. Cutoff calls pretty quick, which I don't really like to see, and the small blind folds. We've reduced it to heads up action only, going into a final card, which is an offsuit 3. I don't think we can really win, so I kind of just give up and check, and the cutoff decides the only way they can win is to move all in. Not really much I feel like I can do except fold here. Maybe I can hero call with ace high sometimes, but I decide that king high isn't good enough, and we let it go. That player seems pretty proud of their move, and shows us queen jack offsuit for the turned open-ender and the river bluff. Alright, the next sticky spot we find ourselves in, we've got ace 9 offsuit in the big blind facing 1 limp and the small blind open to 15. Now, this is a pretty easy defend for us with any ace, so we make the call and the limper comes along too. We're going 3 ways, sandwiched in between 2 players, to a very dynamic flop that comes ace, jack, 9. We've got top and bottom pair, so we're feeling pretty good, especially when the small blind checks. We got to build a pot here since our hand is a good made hand, but it's still vulnerable to cards in the future that could change the board. So we bet 20. The limper makes the call, and then somewhat unsurprisingly, the small blind check raises to 75. Not gonna fold 2 pair, so we make the call for 75, and the limper lets it go. We're going heads up to a turn, which is just one of the most horrendous cards in the deck. It's an offsuit king. So we actually now lose to ace king, and it also, you know, puts some straights out there. So the small blind actually checks, and which is really interesting. And we want to get to showdown as cheaply as possible, so we check back. If you thought the turn was bad, the river is just comically bad. It's the queen of diamonds. So now there's a 4-liner on the board. Ace king, ace queen, ace jack all beat us. The front door flush came in, and any of the sets beat us. So, you know, probably just one of the worst runouts we could hope for. But luckily, the small blind also thinks the runout is pretty bad and checks, and we snap check it back. And would you believe, blind versus blind, we both turn over ace-9 offsuit, and we both flopped 2 pair. I mean, what are the odds of that? Blind versus blind, same hand, both flopped 2 pair, and we chop. So that was crazy, that was wild. Okay, finally, after like 3 hours, we are able to move into the legendary seat 4, the vlogger seat, baby. That's right, we're in the middle of the table, can get the cards, and we're ready for some action. We've got ace-jack offsuit in middle position, we make it 25. The player to our left, who has been relatively loose and calling down pretty light, makes the call, and everybody else gets out of the way. So we're going heads up with ace-jack in middle position to a flop that comes 10-6-6. It's a pretty good flop. I mean, pair boards are good for the pre-flop aggressor, and we're gonna take that approach and that mindset and c-bet 30. Our opponent makes the call, so we are going heads up against the same opponent to a turn that comes the 5 of spades. Now in this situation, right, I was thinking about this hand after the fact, and I think the jack of diamonds is actually one of the worst cards we could have here, as the jack of diamonds should be in the calling range of a lot of his draws. You know, like queen jack, king jack, jack 9, you know? And I feel like if he doesn't have the jack of diamonds, he's gonna have something more made. But you know, that's all technical mumbo jumbo. We bet like 65 anyway, and he calls again. So really hoping that the dealer can, you know, put something out there on the river that we can improve on, or at least bluff at. And our wish is granted. We get a nice offsuit ace on the river. At this point, a flush draw isn't gonna pay off a bet. And I don't really see how, you know, like a 6 is gonna check raise us. So we check, planning to just check call a reasonable sized bet, but our opponent doesn't take the bait and checks it back. We show our river ace high, and we are good. Finally, feels good to have a decent sized win pushed our way. Alrighty, this next hand here, we don't really have to talk about a whole lot. We are just, you know, we have the good old king jack offsuit, and we turn top 2 pair and got jammed into and called, and we were against the nuts, of course. I mean, what are you really gonna do, right? Don't play offsuit garbage from early position. Hey, shut up. You ever think about that? All right, instead of actually playing like good poker, how about we just try jack king off again? Wait, no. Okay, now that we've got that squared away, we were effectively forced into jack king off in the blind. I mean, there was a cowboy right in front of us when I got the camera rolling, and we paid the cowboy $10, and God, this bid is so dumb. Okay, we bet 10, and 2 people called, and then we bet 30, and then 1 person called, and then on the river we bet 60 or 65, and he called, and we showed our king, and he was good, and then we're done. We're done with jack king off this whole session. I'm gonna quit YouTube, I swear. Okay, let's actually get back to the poker. You guys ready? I'm gonna give you an official tutorial, poker tutorial on how to play pocket 8s, okay? Step 1, open to 25, 5x, and get 1 caller. Now this is really important, okay? Because if you don't get anyone to call, there won't be as much money to win, okay? Got that? Okay, step 2. Now this is important. Whip the flop and c-bet anyway, okay? This builds a pot for you to win later, okay? If they don't call, you can't win any money later, okay? Now, step 3, and this is the most important part in playing pocket 8s correctly, okay? You ready? Get there. Just get there on the turn, okay? Did you catch that? Okay, let's recap, okay? Step 1, open to 5x. Step 2, whiff and c-bet. And then step 3, just get there, all right? You got that? Cool. Okay, step 4, get a clean run out and bet big to maximize profit, okay? If you don't get a clean run out, you might not be able to bet. So if you get a clean run out, then you can what? If you get a clean run out, you can bet big, and when your opponent calls, you'll have the best hand and you maximize profit, okay? So if you do these 4 steps correctly, it should look a little something like this. That's right, look at all those chips over there. Look at these chips. Okay, class in session. take a seat. Let's use what we learned in the previous hand and try to dynamically apply it to a new hand in this hand, okay? We've got ace-jack offsuit in the small blind facing a button straddle, okay? We make it 35 and get 2 callers, the big blind and the button. Now this is good because there's money to win, remember that, okay? Now, 3 ways to a flop, that comes 4, 5, 6, okay? We're first to act and we're gonna deviate from the game plan a little bit here and check because against the button and the big blinds, this board is gonna favor their range a lot more than ours, and betting into 2 people kind of sucks when you only have 2 overs and the backdoor and a flush draw. So we check, somehow they both check back, so we're going with the same game to a turn that literally comes the best card in the deck. It's the Jack of Diamonds. Talk about 0 to hero. Now we've got top pair, top kicker, and a flush draw, the nut flush draw, okay? So now we've totally got a good hand here, and we're gonna bet 60. Remember, from the previous hand, the previous lesson we learned, step 3, the most crucial part, just get there on the turn, okay? Big blind calls, the button folds, so we're going into the last card coming, which we're hoping is a good card that lets us keep betting, and I don't know if it is or isn't. It's a 6, so I mean, I don't know. We decided to check here just to take our showdown value with top, and the big blind quickly checks it back. So we show our top pair, and we are good. So remember, big brain, remember from the 4-step plan, very crucial in just getting there on the turn. You ready? Strap in. We've got pocket 6s on the button facing 2 limps. Now, I decided to make it 25, and I don't know if this is correct, because like, I think you're supposed to raise over 1 limper, but 2? 2? I don't know. So we make it 25. We're actually gonna go to the flop 4 ways because the small blind decides to get into the mix too. So we're going 4 ways to a flop that comes deuce, 3, 5. It checks to us, and somehow, still sitting with an overpair, we see bet 65. There's 1 fold, and then there's a check jam to 250. Now, this is a really, really weird spot, right? Because they can have, you know, they were one of the limpers, so they could have like, you know, ace 4 for the nuts. They can have any of the sets. They're probably not gonna have like the 2 pairs because those are really weird, like 2, 3, and 3, 5. I mean, maybe. You know, they could have like a pair plus flush draw or pair plus straight draw with backdoor flush draw, like ace 3, ace 5. But it's a really, really hard spot with pocket 6s. It's so hard, in fact, that I'm actually not gonna reveal what I did. If this video gets 100 likes, I will reveal and go back to this hand what I decided to do and do my further opinions on this hand. All right, for the last hand we're gonna talk about here, we've got King 10 of diamonds in the big blind facing 4 limpers. Now this hand's really pretty and solid, but it's a little too marginal in my opinion to be raising over 4 limpers, so we check our option with one of the top ends of our ranges for checking the big blind. We're going 5 ways to a flop. It comes pretty exciting. It comes queen, jack, 5. So we are open-ended with 1 over, and we wanna start semi-bluffing right away in this limp pot, so we bet 10. We get 2 callers, one of which is a more elderly gentleman who has been shown and known to limp very strong holdings, so we're gonna have to be very wary of that. Going 3 ways to a turn. That doesn't change the board at all. It's like a 7 of hearts maybe, I don't know. We continue betting here. We bet 30. Again, both players call, really hoping that we can improve on this river, and we do! Except it's a 10, and we improve from king high to a pair of 10s. So we know that we're not going to get this elderly gentleman to fold, especially since he's 2 pot committed. So we check, he predictably goes all in. Me and the other player left in the hand fold, and he takes it down. Truly a roller coaster of a session today. We started off pretty rough. At the low, we were down about 700, and then we rallied it back up to only being down about 200, and then punted off a little bit more at the end there, and finalized our session being down 450. That equates to about $75 an hour, or 15 big blinds per hour. We got a little sloppy towards the end there, but still, nevertheless, had an absolutely awesome time playing at the Daytona Beach Racing and Card Club. If you're ever in the area, be sure to check them out, and thank you so much to them for allowing me to vlog in their room. With all that said and done, thanks for hanging out with me today on my roof. Remember, keep your body healthy, don't fall off any roofs, keep your mind healthy. This is Runner Runner Poker. Have a good one. Oh, it's not that far of a fall. All right. Okay, remember that I folded, by the way. I folded the pocket sixes. So, yeah.